Welcome back, guys. Now, this was a loving wife who had just dropped a domestic abuse case against her husband, whom she thought also loved her the same way she did. But just a few days after she had withdrawn this domestic abuse case, she was found dead in a pit filled with toilets and water just behind their house. Now, the question remains, who is responsible for her death? Was she killed? Or maybe, just maybe, did she slip and fall inside this pit without anybody being responsible for it? This is the true crime story of SABC Livhu, a comedian on the SABC channel in South Africa, whose real name is Livhuwani Madadzhe, and he being accused of being responsible for the death of his wife, Lindelani Nengovhela. This is an ongoing case, and if you are ready for this ride, just buckle up and let's go. The news about the death of Lindelani Nengovhela came just a day after she had dropped a domestic abuse case that she had brought up against her husband, SABC Livhu. Now, per reports and per investigations, their relationship was classified as a toxic relationship. They had been together for a number of years and they had kids. And it is reported that the relationship was not one to write home about. There were constant reports of SABC Livhu being physically abusive towards his partner, to the point where he sometimes beat her severely, sometimes used sugarcane to also beat her on the butt, and a whole lot of other things, allegedly, which actually includes one that at a point in time, SABC Livhu is reported to have actually let the daughter of his wife sleep in the dog's pen or the dog's room, so to speak. And I don't understand how these things can happen if it's true. But those are the reports out there. So it got to a point where she actually lodged an official complaint against him for physical domestic abuse, and the case was being pursued by the South African authorities in Limpopo. But then, at a point in time, she just withdrew the case. It turns out that other people had come in, other third parties had come in, and they have managed to seemingly resolve this case out of the court or out of the police jurisdiction. But little did people know what was brewing. It will be recalled that leading up from 2021 and even further back in 2020, there were rumors and some forms of reports that this lady had come out to complain that her husband, the popular SABC Livhu, was actually making their relationship toxic. And it didn't end there. It escalated to the point where she felt that she needed to report it officially. So, just a day after she had decided to withdraw the case, she was found dead. Dead in a toilet pit just behind her matrimonial home. And then it started begging the question, who is responsible for her death? Because as it stands now, her body was retrieved, but autopsy is yet to be carried out. So as it stands now, although the husband has been classified as the main suspect, I'm sure it's probably because of their history, there isn't much to go on to convict him, because per what the reports have been to date, no evidence has come out directly tying him to what has happened to her. If there is something else aside she drowning in this toilet pit, I'm sure autopsy is going to reveal it. But until then, SABC Livhu is still the key suspect. This case is currently ongoing in South Africa, and it's a case that I'm sure is going to set the tone for a lot of issues regarding domestic abuse and relationships and marriages in South Africa going forward, because this seems to be quite rampant in that part of the continent, just as is in some other countries on the continent as well. So, as it stands now, his wife has been buried. He was not granted bail. He was actually seeking to be granted bail, so he attends the funeral, but for obvious reasons, he couldn't be there. I don't even know how it would have played out if he had been there, given the fact that there is this strong suspicion that he might have a hand in her death. But then again, the legal assertion is that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. So if you were able to separate emotions from this based on the history you know about them, then you might be in a position to say that he might not be the culprit, so he shouldn't be judged before he's actually judged and convicted by a credible law court. Like I said, the case is still ongoing, and when his wife withdrew the case that she had lodged against him for domestic violence, this same guy came on the internet, social media, with his wife, and he was sort of bragging about beating the system. I think that was dumb. I think that he should have used it as his last opportunity to try and do better, such that it shouldn't have escalated to this point. But unfortunately, this is where we are now. And other gender-based groups have leaned into the conversation because they are seeking to have him prosecuted for femicide perpetrated against a vulnerable member of the society. And I'm sure that they are going to be very keen on his case because he's a public figure. And down here in Africa, there's a perception that some public figures think that because of their public status and popularity and seemingly connected to other people, they can get away with doing the wrong thing. So I know this case is going to have some heat, and that whatever decisions and verdicts that are being brought up by the courts are going to be scrutinized with an eagle eye by several local and international bodies. Personally, I believe that this guy, if he's found guilty, needs to serve the full sentence, not just for what he has done, if he did, but also for the derogatory manner in which it was done. If it was him who did this, then I think he should face the full rigors of the law and some more, because hey, human waste is human waste. How dare you do this? But then, if he isn't the culprit, then I think that he also needs to be exonerated fully enough that his name will be cleared, although I doubt it fully will, given that he still has that abusive history with his wife. But as it stands now, the case is ongoing, and we are waiting to see how the verdict plays out. But here are some advices that I would want to put out. Don't continue to stay in an abusive relationship if you find yourself in one. This is different from occasional misunderstandings. This is where it gets to the point of physical excessive force being applied, injuries and stuff being incurred. I don't think any relationship is worth it. That's my personal opinion. Let me know what yours is, or whether or not you agree with me. And again, don't believe everything you see on social media. If you go on social media, you see videos of them, seemingly in love, enjoying themselves and all. I think maybe the woman genuinely was in love, but the relationship itself was suffering. So don't believe everything that you see on social media. Work at being a better version of yourself for yourself and also for your partner. Don't just assume that things happen by magic. Relationships need work to work, such that if you love your partner, you should be striving to be better for them. That's my 2 cents. And I wish the family of the victim the strength to go through this difficult time. And if the man is guilty, I wish that they find the justice that they need so they can also have the closure that they so much require. I don't even know if a conviction will give them that closure because the life has still been lost. Now, fast forward, she has been buried, and it was so sad. Her daughter was crying, and it's very heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. Sometimes you wish families don't end up being broken this way, because even if SABC Livhu is found innocent, just assuming, even if he's found innocent, how does he move on with his daughter, who obviously has heard allegations as they stand now that her father might be responsible for the death of her mother? That is so traumatic in itself for this child to process. I don't know the kind of support that she's getting through all of this, but I think it's about time that we all, in our own way, start working for a better society, both within the home and outside of it. The family of the deceased, Nengovhela, indicated that she died for love, but I don't think that anybody needs to die for love. Let's keep an eye out. Like I always say, you never know who it's going to be. You never know what somebody else is capable of. Assess things as they come and be wise. People are trying to blame Nengovhela for bringing this upon herself because she withdrew the case. I don't believe in victim blaming, because sometimes if you haven't walked a mile in someone's shoes, please do not try to judge them. You might make worse decisions if you were in their shoes. May she rest in peace. Subscribe to the channel if you already haven't done so. Hit the notification button. Share this video. Let's spread this news on domestic abuse and save a life from ending up like this. Until we come your way another time, stay safe. Catch you next time.